As previously mentioned, I've never really been into the visual novel genre. However, I do like books, and I appreciate a well-written and thought-out story with interesting and likeable characters. Whilst trawling through my discovery queue during the winter sale to mine for trading cards, I stumbled across this rather intriguing-looking novel. Horror isn't my favourite type of game, but I figured that a visual novel of the horror sort would probably be a little easier to stomach. And by God, am I glad that I made that choice. Lake of Voices is a story that offers you choices and a variety of different events and endings. The basic premise of the story is that you're a guard named... Sorry for this little insert, but her name is actually Kika. I will call her Kiki for the rest of this review. That is not her name. Her name is Kika. It has really annoyed me to find this while I'm editing, but I can't do anything about it now because my audio has changed and you'll be able to hear the difference. So, apologies. You are playing as Kika, not Kiki. Who is travelling with your friend and fellow guard, and I think this is how you say it, Benele, to a town on the other side of a haunted deadly lake that has fallen victim to fighting. The pair of you have been sent to go and stop this fighting, as it has the potential to spill out and become a civil war. The option of avoiding this eerie pool of death is available, but would lengthen your journey time and potentially be incredibly harmful to aiding the citizens that are waiting for you on the other side of it. Now, it is made very clear that a lot of people die crossing the lake, and those who survive have done so with the help of a man known only as the Guide. He is stern, and it is determined from the beginning that he makes the rules, and what he says goes. As you reach the bridge, you find a woman waiting there, who is insistent the Guide is there for her, not you and Benelli. When the Guide arrives, he warns that if all three of you go, it is certain that at least one of you will die. The Guide knows all, or so it seems, and is the most experienced with encounters with the Nixie, which are the big threat of the lake. The Nixie, you learn, are afraid of the light, but all in all cannot be damaged with weapons, which you and Benele have. The other big problem with the lake is that all the bridges sink beneath the surface when the sun comes up, meaning anyone still on them gets plunged into Nixie-infested waters. From then on, the story begins to spiderweb into a multitude of different choices and ends. And once you learn all these facts about the way the bridges and the monsters work, you are then left to try and figure out the best way to get around them. There are only a few key parts that are exactly the same in each story. That is the beginning, a first encounter with the Nixie and a subsequent chase, and a point where you happen across a man cowering on the bridge. Other than those parts, everything else is a splinter, and the amount of different outcomes is surprising for a game offered as a free-to-play. I have actually, like the sad being I am, attempted to map out the amount of different endings and choice combinations, and I found that I would need a flowchart the size of an A1 piece of paper to do so, at the least. The amount of combinations is so vast. Not only do you get a different story by making good or bad choices in confrontation, but you also have the opportunity to get closer to certain characters and get the chance of learning more of their background as you go along. This means that the more you play and the more you go down different routes, the better a glimpse of the bigger picture you get. However, there seems to be one character that stays at least partly a mystery, and that is the Guide himself. Everyone knows that his father died in the lake, and they know his father's name. However, he himself claims to not have a name, and his cruel and merciless demeanour and apathy at death don't make him any more transparent. Through trying to explore all the routes possible, you discover a few hints, but nothing coherent about who he really is. In one storyline, it was revealed that the Guide himself had actually died on the lake. However, in another, it was also true that the Nixie were able to physically harm him. That means he isn't a ghost, but what he actually is still unknown. The only other thing I was able to glean from his character is that the one thing he values the most is pragmatism. Unlike the other characters, there isn't an open opportunity to be able to get closer to his character that is easy to spot. You have to play your cards right to give yourself that opportunity. I think I managed it once, but at the time I didn't quite get what I was doing well enough to be able to make full use of the chance. But it stands that the Guide seems to be right. I've managed to get about 9 different endings at this point, and in none of them has everyone survived. I'm not sure at this point if there is even a way to get everyone to survive. I don't know if it's possible. I've managed to reach the midway point with every character alive, but that is the furthest my success has gone. After that, I lost one person on the island and continued the story with everyone else surviving. The maximum I have managed to get to the other side is 3 out of the 4 characters in different combinations, obviously not including the guide. I'm not actually convinced that you can get an ending where the guide dies. I'm still considering the possibility that there is an ending where everyone dies. So far, I have been trying my best to save everyone, so that's probably why I haven't found that one yet. I know there is a version where everyone dies but Kiki, and with the way that ran, I don't actually think there is a route where everyone can die. Since the game ends when Kiki dies, it's impossible to kill her any time but last, and from what I saw, there don't really seem to be many opportunities to do that. Not that I'm purposely trying to murder everyone. It's safe to say that Lake of Voices is a very well thought out and exceptionally well written visual novel. The idea for the story in itself is very creative, and the writing of the characters is really deep and immersive. In interacting with the others, you also learn more about yourself too, giving more context to your own character as well as theirs. And the reasons for the characters' actions aren't stupid either. The characters genuinely question each other like intelligent beings and don't just accept things for the way they are all the time. The Nixie are suitably spooky and dangerous, and I even thought, oh god, the first time I saw one. It wasn't a predictable appearance at all, and that's a good thing. The encounters with the enemy and the troubles you face can be sprung on you at times you don't expect it, meaning you have to think wisely about what to do next. And the game gives you extra to think about, as in the beginning, it also lets you know that sometimes doing nothing and not choosing an option is actually the best way to go. So then, every time an action comes up, it leaves you wondering which one's the best choice. Obviously, taking into account all of the information you've already got. It's kind of a bit like a detective novel, but with dire consequences. With all the facts about the Nixie and the bridges in mind, and knowing the weight of your decisions, the story really pulls you in and gets you involved. The art for the game is well done, I quite liked it. Yes, the backgrounds for the bridges are repeated sometimes, as are the character images, but the art styles meshed really well for character and background, and everything but Kiki's internal narration was actually voice acted, and it was good voice acting too. There was an exceptional amount of effort put into it for a free-to-play. My only cons with the game would be that if you don't save, sometimes you have to go back a while to try and fix your wrong decisions. And, as mentioned, repetition in using the character and mainly the background images. I get that they can't draw every section of a whole bridge different, but I did notice that the same section of bridge was used quite a few times in quite a few different scenarios. I could quibble about the music too, as it gets a bit repetitive. They tend to use the same track for quite a lot of it, and you can sort of tell that it loops, but I did sit for about 3 hours straight running through it, trying to get all the endings, so that may have been why I started to notice. After all, I did end up watching the same scenes over again for most of it, just making different choices in them. Saying that though, the music was well applied and the atmosphere was always right. The story was good, lots of choice, lots of content, good art, good voice acting, and really interesting characters. I have a lot of respect for this game and the amount of effort that went into it, and for its creators. I will continue to search for endings in this game, and I probably won't stop until I have them all. Additionally, for those who do subsequent run-throughs, the game allows you to skip through dialogue you've already read. However, if you choose a new route with a different part, the skip stop lets you read through the new bits. If you reach another point you've already been to, it then allows you to skip again. It really cuts down on time if you go ending hunting or if you forget to save and want to make a different choice. All in all, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this game, and I'm really impressed with how well the characters are written and acted, and the general immersion of the story. It was a very good job indeed, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'll give Lake of Voices a solid 9 out of 10.